ഹായ്, ഞാൻ ദേവി.
ഞാൻ ദാമു.
ഞങ്ങൾ യുഎസിന്റെ ചുറ്റും ഒരു RV ട്രിപ്പ് നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ആ കാണുന്നത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ RV.
അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് ഇന്നത്തെ വിശേഷങ്ങളിലേക്ക് കിടക്കാം.
ഓക്കേ.
Well, come back in, and it was not a commissioned submarine, it or its sister ship, so that meant when they got done, everybody could go topside, lock the hatches, go home and come back the next day. For a regular submarine, a third of the crew stays aboard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I know, this is my jacket. I served on 5 diesels and 2 nuclears.
Oh, wow.
I spent 54 days underwater on a diesel submarine and 52 days underwater on a nuclear submarine. Oh, wow. This originally had 8 bunks up here, but they were hardly ever used because, like I say, they hardly ever spend the night at sea. Carried max of 5 torpedoes. Had 2 here on this side, 1 in the tube, and then there was 2 more over here. These are small electronic torpedoes because a regular full-size submarine torpedo is 21 foot long. This compartment's not 21 foot long. And when you station aboard a submarine, this is space you had to store everything you owned. All your clothes and everything else had to fit in there.
What is that submarine still called?
That's the one we're on.
And then give you size comparisons. Here's this submarine and sister ship tied up alongside a regular diesel submarine.
Wow.
131 foot, 306 foot.
Oh, wow.
Another comparison, what they call the sail, the part that sticks up between these two and a regular submarine. And then there's what this submarine looked like when it was at sea on the surface. And the water on the outside would be about here. So needless to say, that door wasn't there. And then here's 2019.
Oh, it flooded here?
Oh, wow.
The water got to the height of that ramp. Thank God it didn't get any higher, because this muddy water, if it got in here, it would have been fun trying to clean out from under the torpedo tube up there. The hazard flowed up out of the hole that it was in, moved half the width sideways. Then luckily the river filled the hole, because otherwise when the water went down, it would just rolled right over on its side. And in fact, there's a picture of what the hazard looked like before the flood. It was down that far in the ground. In fact, there's sort of a hump along the side that used to be at ground level, and the ramp going up to it used to sit out there on the sidewalks. Then also we're working on a memorial for the USS Omaha out here by the airport. If you're going out towards the airport from this side with Carter Lake out here, there's a route of the USS Omaha. This is target and training submarine. When they get underway, this lower part of the ladder will be taken down, this inner hatch will be swung up and locked shut. And the reason for that, on the target part, they would go out, the destroyers or the aircraft try to find them, then drop practice depth charges on them. The practice depth charge is 1 pound of TNT. Happen to land right on the upper hatch, it could possibly blow it off, so if it did, it just flood the tube, not the whole compartment.
Oh.
And like I said, there was 8 bunks up here, but they were hardly ever used. Then one thing most people don't think about on a submarine, though, was how did you get rid of your sewage? Like on this one, the sanitary tank is right under the floor here. And everything that came into the sanitary tank, sinks and everything else, all had shut-off valves. So once a day you'd check, make sure all the valves were shut, hang a sign on the door of the bathroom saying blowing sanitaries. Then you come up in here and open air pressure valve and pressurize your sanitary tank to at least 10 pounds above sea pressure. Then you open your overboard discharge and blow all your waste out to sea. You sit here with your hand on the valve. As soon as you feel it start to vibrate, you slam it shut right quick, because that meant air is getting to it. You didn't want to send a big bubble of air out to possibly give you away. Then you reach down and turn off your air pressure valve. Now comes the fun part. You're sitting there underwater, and your sanitary tank is still pressurized at least 10 pounds above sea pressure. So guess what you get to do now? You get to bleed all the air back into the boat. That's even on the modern submarines.
Oh.
Well, just put it this way. My first enlistment, when we went over to Yokosuka, Japan, there's one bar that all the submarine sailors went to. And the ladies that worked in the bars referred to the submarine sailors as sussigon sailors, which translated into sewer tube sailors. You'd have that smell on your clothes,
Oh, Lord.
everything else. In fact, here about a month ago, I was telling that, and one lady that was here said, yeah, you won't believe it, but said, that used to be my favorite smell. Said her dad was an officer on submarines. Whenever she smelled that smell, she knew he was home.
Oh.
But the modern submarines are the Virginia class. These are the ones they're building now. There's one that's doing its sea trials right now, has not been commissioned yet, which is going to be the USS Iowa. And they recently announced they're also going to name one of them the USS Arizona. And speaking on the Arizona, on December 7th, 1978, I had the honor of being one of the 2 Navy personnel to go out and raise and lower the flag on the USS Arizona on the anniversary attack. Awesome. There was only 2 people a year that got that honor. And as of 6 years ago, no military gets to do it anymore. They turned over the National Park Service, and they keep the flag flying out there 24 hours a day now.
നമ്മളകത്തേക്ക് വരുന്നു തൊട്ടകത്താണ് ബാത്റൂം ഒക്കെ ഉള്ളത്.
There's the bathroom.
You're not claustrophobic at all, are you?
Under the floor here is where one of the 2 batteries were. Like on this one, each battery had 68 cells. They were lead acid batteries. The one with me standing up on the deck on, you had 126 cells. Each cell weighed a little over half a ton. And here's a picture of the Marlin arriving here in June of '74. And the Hazard was in the river at that time too. The Hazard is the largest ship that sailed under its own power up the Mississippi and Missouri rivers. I didn't even know the Freedom Park existed back then, but June 1st of '74, I came home, married my wife, and took her back to Hawaii for 5.5 years. Actually, we thought we had another 12 years to do out there. So after 4 years, the detailers, the people giving your orders, came out there and asked them what was the chance of staying in Hawaii going from sea duty to shore duty. They said, oh, no problem whatsoever. We don't have to spend all the money and send you back to mainland. Be happy to leave you here. So we were buying a house out there.
നേരെ കൺട്രോൾ റൂമിലേക്കാണ് പോകുന്നത്. So this was probably where people ate?
Yeah, this was there was a kitchen. And
Kitchen.
You can only set 2 people there. But boats I served on, you can set up to 50 people in the best decks at one sitting. And this was the periscope. It doesn't work anymore. If you look in it now, all you're going to be able to do is just see a circle of light. Years ago, you used to be able to look in here and turn it around and zoom in on the buildings downtown and everything.
Oh, wow.
I'd love to get it fixed, but the cheapest estimate that I've heard is at least $20,000.
Wow.
And where I'm a volunteer, I don't think I'm going to get it fixed.
Yeah.
And this is definitely not state-of-the-art submarine. Built in '53, taken out of service in '73. But this is one of the first ones built with a combined control panel, which forward to dive, back to come up. At a maximum depth of 225 foot, this could go down. And just like I say, it's not state-of-the-art, built in '53, taken out of service in '73. You had your 1 torpedo tube up there. This is your torpedo data control. You set the gyro in the torpedo to go what direction you want it to go. Then you said how deep you want the torpedo to go, whether you had an impact warhead where you wanted to hit the ship or magnetic where you wanted to go just under the ship. Then you said how far you wanted the torpedo to go before the warhead went active. Once you have that done, here you go, push the button. You just fired the torpedo. That's all there was to it on this one. And on the map here, Key West, Florida, this is where it's stationed out of. Along with this, up in the forward room, you had an antenna that went through the bottom of the boat, sent your boot through the water. So when you got underway, you'd have a blue pinpoint light shine out here and follow supposedly where you were. Say supposedly because it's not like GPS is nowadays. The old diesel submarines spent almost all your time on the surface, so they'd have a big map on there. And in the evening, the quartermaster would go up on the bridge with the second, shoot the stars, they go down and make adjustments where you actually were. But just like I said, though,
ബങ്ക് ബെഡ്സും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഉള്ള സ്ഥലത്തേക്ക് പോകണം. അവിടുത്തെ ഓഫീസേഴ്സ് ബങ്ക്.
and this one here has 2 4-cylinder diesel engines. All the diesels do when they're running, they're hooked to a generator to make electricity, either to charge the batteries or go to the electric motor, it turns the propeller, or a combination. About 95% of the water you made, you had to make distilled water to replenish the water in the batteries. So you didn't have extra water for non-essential stuff like showers. As a cook, I could take a shower whenever I needed it. But just like the first diesel boat I reported aboard, the senior list man to give me the briefing says, as far as showers go, normally it's once a week. So the exception torn away inside your still hull, and when you're charging batteries, you had to leave the hatches between the compartments open, and the compartment just ahead of the forward engine rooms where the crew slept. So you'd be sleeping in there with 4 train engines roared away just a few feet behind you.
Wow.
So, wonder why I have what they call tinnitus, ringing in the ears ever since my first enlistment. And actually, I got a recording here of lighting off one of those diesel engines. The engine itself would be 6 times louder than this, and have 225 air, turn it over to get start, then to idle for a minute, then you start bringing it up. That's just the air turning it over to get it to start.
ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ നിക്കിയും കാളിയും കൂടെ പുറത്തിരിക്കുകയാണ് സബ്മറീൻ്റെ USS മാർലിൻ്റെ. അപ്പം അവരുടെ അകത്തൂടെ ടൂറ് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് അതിൻ്റെ അകത്തിൽ നിന്ന് വരാൻ പോവാണ് ദാമു. ഇപ്പം ആദ്യം ഒരു കുറേ ആളുകൾ വന്ന് തുടങ്ങുകയാണ് ആളുകൾ. അതാണ് പുറത്തേ നല്ല വ്യൂ ഓഫ് സബ്മറീൻ. ഉണ്ടോ? ഡാഡി
അതിലൂടെയാണ് കയറി വന്നത് മുകളിലേക്ക്. ആക്ച്വലി ഇതുവഴിയാണ് നമ്മൾ ശരിക്കുള്ള രീതിയിൽ സബ്മറീനിൽ കയറുന്നത്. ഈ ഹാച്ച് വഴിയാണ്. ഈ ഹാച്ച് വഴി കയറി താഴേക്ക് പോകും. വന്നിട്ട് ബാക്കി പറഞ്ഞുതരാൻ പോകും. അത് പറഞ്ഞാൽ 2019 ഫ്ലഡ് ചെയ്തു. ബേസിക്കലി അതിൻ്റെ അവിടെ വരെ വെള്ളം കയറി. ആ ഷിപ്പ് ടിൽറ്റ് ചെയ്തു. അത്രയും വെള്ളം കഴിയുന്ന അതിന്. അദ്ദേഹം വരുന്നത് ഫ്ലാഗ് ഊരാണ്. ബിക്കോസ് ഫ്ലാഗ് ഊരിയിട്ട് അദ്ദേഹം അടച്ചു.
From inside, and would have a message on it, like this would have something like USS Marlin sunk here, notify authorities and whatever else. But when the rescue ship got out, they'd lift this up, put on the back of the rescue ship, they'd take the cable, hook at the bottom of the rescue chamber, pull it right down over the hatch, they'd lock it down to these 4 rings. Then they'd open the hatch at the bottom of the chamber, open this hatch and transfer the people up. The thing is, though, there's so few places that the water's shallow enough they could ever use it, because most places submarines go down until they implode. In the 60s, we lost 2 nuclear submarines, the Tracer and the Scorpion, and both of those went down until they imploded. The Scorpion, we lost the 6th month of 68. The 8th month of 68, I reported aboard my first submarine, which is a sister ship of the Scorpion, and if that wasn't bad enough, it was 1 hull number below the Tracer. So same class as one that was sunk and 1 hull number below the other that sunk.
ഫ്ലാഗ് എടുത്തുകൊണ്ട് പോവുക. സാറ്റർഡേയ്സ് മാത്രമാണ് ഉള്ളത് ഇത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇനിയിപ്പോൾ നെക്സ്റ്റ് സാറ്റർഡേയും കൂടെ കാണത്തുള്ളൂ എന്ന് നമ്മളെ പറഞ്ഞത്. ദാറ്റ് ബി ദ ലാസ്റ്റ് സാറ്റർഡേ. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് പിന്നെ വിൻ്റർ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്യുള്ളൂ.
ഈ കാണുന്നതാണ് വാറൻ ബുഫറ്റിൻ്റെ വീട്. മൾട്ടി ബില്യനെയർ വാറൻ ബുഫറ്റിൻ്റെ വീടാണ് ഇത്. ഈ കാണുന്നത് പണ്ടേ വാങ്ങിച്ച വീടാണ്. ഇപ്പോഴും അദ്ദേഹം ഇവിടെ തന്നെയാണ് താമസിക്കുന്നത്. ചെറിയൊരു നെയ്ബർഹുഡ്. വലിയ അതിൻ്റെ സൈഡിലെ വീട് ആക്ച്വലി ഇതിനെക്കാട്ടി വലിയൊരു വീടായിട്ട് തോന്നും. അല്ലാണ്ട് വലിയ ഇതൊന്നുമല്ല, സാധാരണ ഒരു നെയ്ബർഹുഡ്. എവിടെ ക്യാമറ? ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ തന്നെ. ഓ ദേ ഇവിടെ ക്യാമറയൊക്കെ വെച്ചിട്ട്